Hello and welcome everybody today to your Legislative and Government Affairs Committee meeting. First, before we get started, I would like the approval of the minutes for the March 5th, 2025 meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Appreciate it. Do you vote on it?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Second best. First on the agenda is requesting home rule legislation to designate the New York State Route 9P bridge over the Interstate 87 at exit 14 as the Assemblywoman Bobby DeAndre's bridge.
That item 4 or 3?
4.
Oh, sorry. Look at that.
Well, we can do this one.
You sure?
Yeah.
Go back where what?
You're the chair. You can do it any order you want.
Right. We're going to go third, fourth, fifth.
All right. So thank you, Chairwoman. What this item is about is initially requesting home rule legislation to designate the Route 9P bridge over the Northway as the Assemblyman Bobby DeAndrea Bridge. We're going to change this request, and our county attorney is here to amplify that if needed. The request of this resolution will be that the New York State Legislature designate the New York State Route 9P Bridge over Interstate 87 at exit 14 as the Assemblyman Bobby DeAndrea Memorial Bridge. We realized, and again, George can amplify it and explain it if needed, that home rule legislation is not required for this. We're strictly going to be asking the state legislature to change the name of the bridge for the former Assemblyman. And where this comes out of, in 2015, a similar resolution was brought forward by the board at the time and passed, requesting a name change of that bridge in honor of Assemblyman DeAndrea for his great service to our county. And it passed the board. It passed the Senate, but it did not go through at the Assembly because the rules of the Assembly at the time, it still might be the same case, is they will not dedicate a structure or whatever it is for someone still living. So that put the kibosh on it 10 years ago. Well, as we all know, the former Assemblyman passed away earlier this year, I believe. And a couple of supervisors asked that we, who were back there at the time, hey, now's a good time to bring this forward again. So that's the genesis of this request to pass it along to the state legislature. And either myself or George are happy to answer any questions.
You guys have any questions?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
What an honor and privilege to be able to do that. Hope it goes through.
Hopefully it will. Thank you.
And why don't we go back up to 3? Authorizing the digital or electronic copies of records to be the official copy of records in the Saratoga County.
I'll make a motion to pass, but I'd like to hear. I got a question. Absolutely. All right, for discussion purposes. When you say records, copies of records, I've been trying to do this in my town too. To a degree, is it become all records? And so when you think of all records electronic, you really got to think of all records. And we have a plethora of records that are not electronic, won't ever be electronic. And I'm trying to think, how do you differentiate between the two? Meetings of minutes that townships don't have recordings of, and things of that nature. Is there a way to designate it? Do we say all records, or how do we do that?
Well, in the case of this is just the cornerstone that allows us. I'll give you a little background on this. It's in 2022, the Board of Supervisors put the records management program under the county clerk's office named Craig Heener, County Clerk Heener as the RMO. But you guys also gave us, the Board of Source gave us the equipment and everything we needed to be able to begin this process. Since that time, we have imaged over 400,000 documents with a very small crew, and that's on top of doing inventories and straightening out other instances around the county. In some cases in the county, you've already done this, where we already have once a document that comes in paper form and is converted over into digital, the digital is considered the original. In that case, you did it with the vouchers and the voucher policy. When you adopted NWS, we've done it in the clerk's office with all of our records, working with OCA, with the Office of Court Administration and New York State Archives. So in the case of the county clerk's office, anything before 1950, we have to hold, even if we do digitize it, we have to hold the paper copy. So there are cutoffs depending upon it. If it's historical, you determine it. You have every right to determine to hold on to that. If we had a situation where, in our case in the clerk's office, we enacted a policy where, yes, when a document comes in through OCA, we have permission at that point, once it's been prepped, scanned, verified, and backed up, we can technically get rid of it as soon as that process is done. However, we have made an internal policy to hold all those documents for a year. Then after that year, if we find that everything is correct in the system, we can dispose of that at our leisure. And the same thing would happen with other departments once they're launched under this program. And for the county, this isn't a carte blanche. You can just get rid of anything. It has to be for a proper system to work and to turn it digital, you have to do the front end analysis of what you're doing, how large a project is, what you're keeping within the file, what you have to keep, what you can get rid of. So you have your records retention there and you're not keeping more than you need to. Then from there, you have your scanning process. So you have your guidelines on scanning. You add your verification process to the end. Make sure you're also capturing the metadata of how to find it, index it, who did the work, which is always important. So when it comes down to authenticity, when you're before a court of law with that converted document, that it will be able to stand the scrutiny of the courtroom. And then from there, we can dispose at that point after we determine and it's gone through the proper disposal procedures.
So is it specified anywhere in our regulations or law rule, however this is going to be given to the board to approve, the types of records that are allowed under this? Or is it all records within his department? And the flip side of that is then what can be turned in that's in our regulations or policies? Turning over, you must turn in paperwork. Can it be digitized now? Can you hand in digital paperwork to make it easier? I just didn't know. I wasn't sure.
In some cases, so for example, I can only relate to some things that have happened within the court system. They've moved everything within the mortgage system now. Everything is a lot of e-filing has come around. So when New York State actually passed the legislation on it, where a document can come into the clerk's office and we can file it and record it as a digital document. It has to meet certain parameters when it comes in. Same thing with court documents. The courts have moved over to, in most civil cases, are now electronically filed, and criminal is coming on board probably within this year or next year. Some other departments, it all depends how in some cases, where the source document is coming in from. If it goes into electronic content management systems, so for example, we have Laserfish, which will be throughout the county. In a lot of cases, you're getting documents that are coming in with an electronic signature as a PDF. You can then take that and put that into the system, and it will count as your original document because it was born digital and is being stored as a digital document. There will be variations into everything we do, okay? Or is it in a certain department? If they want to keep it paper, they can. If they want to, there are no specific laws that are forcing us into digitizing everything. It really comes down to a space, but it comes down to space requirements for storage, accessibility to us and the public, and particularly as FOILs become more, we get more demand on the FOIL officers. It's a lot easier to find things when they are digital.
So I'm happy. I just wanted to ask those couple of questions.
Yeah.
We're like I said, in our own town did, but we realize some we can't. So we specify which ones will be digitized versus all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing that says you have to do everything, but you can if you determine as in your municipality what you would like and not. Sometimes it does help to make, in our example, we had naturalizations. So, but the documents are so fragile, we digitized everything. And now if someone's looking for it, the naturalization, we can hand the copy over to somebody and not have it affect the original. And we're able to preserve those type of documents longer.
I'm sure if I may. Just for the benefit of the committee, for those you don't know, Charles runs our digital management program, really our records, overall, our records management. Craig Hayner is the designated records management officer for the county, but Charles really runs the program. He's been doing a great job. And it's been a big investment by the board and the county over the last few years. So my question is, for the supervisors here, do you frequently get asked questions? Does your department get asked questions by the towns, by the villages on any kind of records management stuff, or not? Because I know, as we've talked about, it's a big issue for the towns, for the villages, and some counties are expanding their records management systems to include the towns under contracts. So just kind of throwing it out there so we can know a little more.
So in this case, I haven't been approached. The only thing that I've really been approached on is talking to the Association of Town Clerks about social media, which is something we tackled along with Christine Raj and the administration when we first got in here. But one thing, I'll give you an example of an municipality project, and that is a project. One of our first projects was inventorying and arranging all of the planning board referrals that were over in Building 5. And we've inventoried up to 2013. We're now working from 1962 to 2013 is digitized, indexed, and organized. And now we currently are doing the second phase of that, which is 2014 to current. And the department over there has also begun, as projects come in, referral packets come into them, they're actually adding them to the Laserfish system on their own and processing them out of there. But to give you an example of how we're using this between municipalities, we only have to keep one document in that entire package that is done. And that's the referral letter back to, and that is the referral letter back to the municipality on the project, the approval or not approval of the project. In that case, a lot of the municipalities we created, they didn't have some of the original documents. So when this project is done, this item here will allow us to transfer. We reached out to the town clerks and the planning boards there at Exwood. Do you have the documents? What do you need? Some of us said we'd like all the records back. When this project is done, we will sign off on the records and send all the records they want organized with an inventory back to those municipalities that want to make their records whole. So that is one just small example of what we've done so far. As we expand the system, there are many things that we'll be able to do if we decide to take on projects with other towns as it expands. It can be done, absolutely. Thompson County is a prime example of what they've done out there with their program.
I'm just wondering, because you were talking about expansion, would you be able to expand? I was thinking like a lot of people are doing portals now. So you go into like, say, Department of Records, and you would go into like a system of portals where you can request records that way. Do you see it going that way?
In time. We now have the base. About 2 weeks ago, we upgraded the software that will allow for this other functionality to happen. We're not at that point. IT has to be at a certain level. We have to make sure the internal controls are there. And then, yes, for example, with the town of Clifton Park, because they use the same type system, and I'll use planning as a prime example, when your planning board needs a determination done, you can electronically transfer the records to us. We can accept them and electronically send them back.
Because that will streamline a lot.
Yes. So we have talked to planning about that, but once the infrastructure is there, but that's still probably another 2 years out before we get that point. We want to get our internal structure together first.
Great. Thank you.
Is it something the supervisors, you guys are wrestling with right now? Ed, you were you're looking to do it, it sounds like.
No, we've got more things to do in order to move forward that way. Yeah. We are in the process. We ordered some equipment to digitize stuff, and because of space and room.
Right.
You can only fit so many cabinets in an office.
Yeah.
And we're historian, court clerks is almost complete. And planning is the big one next. And then our town clerk. And she's done a great majority of it already. So at some point, we'll be totally digital. And that'll be a good thing. But that's where I was going with. It depends on how the resolution is written or whatever law we need to abide. That digital records can be used as the official, as opposed to will be, because then you're saying all your records will be digital and they're not. And so a word change, I caught in one of our things we had to put out. So just some catch. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion, yes. Second.
All right, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you, appreciate it. So next on the agenda is amending the policy and procedure manual to revise the county's freedom of information policy.
Good afternoon, thank you. Our office is in the process of taking over all the FOIL requests. And part of that process, I asked Mike Depresso to review the policies that we had in place. The policy we had in place was originally done in 1978. It's mainly contained in a resolution. We wanted one document to be the policy for the board. So Mike undertook that process. There's an updating that we presented that to the subcommittee on policies, and they made some suggestions, and all of those suggestions have been incorporated into the new policy. One of the big changes going forward is our office is going to be the sole department responsible for responding to FOIL requests. Under the old provisions, the departments could respond themselves, but that's no longer going to be the case. So he put policies and procedures in for that, as well as how they're to get us, if they do receive a FOIL request, how they're supposed to turn it over to our office and cooperate with our office in responding to FOIL. We're doing this because FOILs have become a full-time job. We can't have clerk of the board doing that and being the clerk of the board. There simply isn't enough time. We responded to over 450 FOIL requests last year. We've got over 250 this year so far of FOIL requests. They just continue to grow. The amount of work required to do these has also grown because of body cam. All the body cam videos have to be reviewed and potentially redacted if necessary. So that's quite a task to take place. So Administrator Bulger met with me and said he thought that my office should asked if my office could take it over. I said, certainly. And we've agreed we would hire a paralegal to be the initial FOIL access officer, which leads into my next resolution. We're going to have hired a paralegal who has been trained in FOIL. Work by Patrice Connolly. She's here today. Kristen Roush. Llewellyn is here and Mike Depresso is here. They're going to act as our primary FOIL response. Mike's going to be the legal advisor. Kristen, I am the FOIL appeals officer, so everything will take place in my office. We think this will be able to hopefully keep up with the demand for FOIL and make sure that it gets responded to correctly under current law. So I'm asking for two resolutions, one to amend the policies and procedures manual to update it and have it in one single document, and to another resolution to appointing a records access officer, which would be Christy. Does anybody have any questions about how we're handling this?
Just the bigger the town, the more the resources. Smaller the town, the harder it is. There are obviously some almost canned answers to some of the FOILs that come out there. Some are superfluous, just will take you forever to answer. So I created some creative language, working with Jim Trainer's office and send back. And I haven't really run into any suits as a result of that. Under Hugh, you did a great job. I don't think we ever had a loss under Hugh Burt when he did them. Likewise, in saying that, your office is going to become, as you have, creating a new department. To answer it says, can towns leverage some of that support in some respects to call you or to send you a, hey, here's what we're sent, and any thoughts when needed, something along that line? And if that's a cost for the town, similar to dog catcher, animal control, and everything else, I mean, it's worth money in some respects, because not all law firms are school as well in foils if you don't do them every day of the week.
I agree with that. There is, just for your information, though, open government does have, and we've utilized it, training online, which is excellent. They have their opinions, which are excellent. They have their decisions, which help as well. And also calling them is very helpful. I've used them on multiple occasions to call open government. There's 2 individuals there that know it inside and out. But as I've told all this, hopefully I've made it clear to all the supervisors, I'm always available. You can freely give me a call. Since it's not going to be a matter that's going to be handled by the county, it doesn't affect my ability as far as conflict, my being the appeals officer for the county. So if anyone in your towns have questions on foil, I'd be happy to do my best to do some quick research and get them some answers, potentially some case law to support their position. So I've helped towns on various matters. I've gone out to the town and worked with them on. I've done a FOIL request for other towns when they've asked me for special occasions. I'd be happy to do it. So, and that way I can offer my services. And I'd be happy to do that. And I would ask Mike to entertain questions from the town. I mean, first and foremost has to be the county, but we're certainly want to help the town as best we can, and we're all in this together. And there's a good chance we've seen the issue before,
right?
So I assume we get a lot more, and some of them are just completely voluminous that we come across most issues. So we'd be happy to help out in any way we possibly can. Thank you.
Do you have any questions? No? Okay, so in regard to amending the policy and procedure first, do I have a motion?
I'll take the motion. Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. That passes. And then, did you have anything else to say on the appointing records?
I would just point out that Kristen has done this for the last month or so, a little bit longer than that. Effort that she put in learning this and reviewing the statutes and going through the training and working with Trace. She's now up and running completely, and I'm getting nothing but great comments on how well she's doing, the great job she's doing. She works tremendously. She's very dedicated, and she seems to be enjoying it. Since she's in the room, I just want to thank her for all her efforts. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
I do want to recognize Mike again for the great job he did on the policies. And the job that he's doing as legal advisor to the FOIL department. But other than that, I have nothing further. Thank you.
Do you guys have any more questions on those lines? Right, and I just want to say I have an idea of what a feat this is for you guys all to take on. So thank you guys for doing that, and I'm glad that we have an update from the 70s. I think our county is a professional county, and we deserve the best, and I think we got the best on it. And just to make it all uniform, that's the best way to go about it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, we need to.
Oh, excuse me.
Motion for the appointing records.
Oh, wait. I'll make
Or-
a motion.
Yeah, the appointing record access officer.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, any other business? What's the ending like? All right, all in favor?
I'm expecting that.